had a look on the Facebook page. You described the film as a genuine documentary full of goat spirit. Was there a particular event that inspired you to start working on the film?
Yes, indeed. All this idea came from 2 years ago when I saw a marketing teaser for an event in France, Un Jour Vélo Vintage, where I see a group of fantastic people, cyclists, wearing out classical dressing and classical bikes. And what makes me more amazed with it was all the joy, the happiness, the good vibes that teaser provoked on me,
Hmm.
that I saw in that people. And that was a trigger point to I was trying to discover a thematic for my first project, from my first documentary, and that was an eureka moment where, wow, I want to discover more about this. That was the point. Yes.
Oh, brilliant. And do you think, like, just looking at the film and like all the themes, there's a couple of themes going through the film. One of them is nature, the other one is quality. There's also, I think, a really strong theme about age and respect for age in a certain sense as well. Do you think that, like, with modern bikes, does cycling has lost its soul, or and do you think the evolution of a bicycle and like the way we treat bicycles these days are a reflection of where our society has gone?
I don't see as losing the soul. It's
Hmm.
it's completely different approaches. Of course, everyone that is on top of a bike is having a good mood with the environment and the nature, and it's enjoying and thinking about their own lives, of course. But I think there is a completely different approach when you are on a classical bike,
Hmm.
because you valorize, or you have in consideration all the history that you have with you.
Hmm.
It could be a bike from your grandfather. It's like you have more respect for the object that is the bike, because it has an emotional attachment to it. And not only it could be only a family tie, because as I told you, the bike could be from his grandparent, but it can also have the feeling of I'm recycling something that could be old, something that could be in the trash, but no, I'm using it because I have a value for it. I see that it is a symbolical object, and I want to transform it and be part of my everyday life right now. So this kind of different approach is completely the opposite of someone that goes to the store and buys the last model,
Yeah.
which is good. We don't have nothing against it, but it's a different kind of soul. Yes, it's more immediate. It's more consumption, and as opposite to the classical cyclists, where it's more far away from the consumption model that we have in our societies. And in that way, um, it's a good analogy for what I wanted to convey in the documentary. I usually joke that it's not a documentary about bikes. It seems like
Yeah.
it's about bikes, but at the end of the day, it's not about bikes. Uh, and it's perfectly show it from the classical cyclists.
Hmm. There's because what I kind of read through this as well is like, I think, do you think that this like I think the bicycle is just an object in a certain way. I think what a lot of people have been talking about is like values, and I think there seems to be a really strong connection of people talking about that we somehow lost those values in modern societies. Do you think like they can play a role? There was also a wonderful quote towards the end in the film about society and how bicycles can um, uh, inspire citizenship in a sense. So do you think that, like, by people riding bikes more and really seeing the value in those things, that we can somehow regain those values in society as well?
Yes, it helps a lot, because when you cycle, you are very in contact and with touch with those who surround you. It's not like when you are in a car, you are very isolated from the other people. Of course, you are in your own roads and
Hmm.
a little bit of selfish. But when you bike, you are in bounds with everything that surrounds you. It's easier to say hello, to stop, to talk. So indeed, I believe the from that point, the bike is perfect. From the other point, that is when you bike, you are more contemplative. You are thinking in a slow movement. You are in moods with everything that is surrounding you, and you are peaceful thinking about your life. It also is like a yoga. You are doing a yoga on top of your bike. So yes, it's perfect for being better with us and with those who surround us. Yes.
Hmm. There's a quite an interesting quote which is quoted quite often. You can't buy happiness, but you can buy a bike. That comes true in a certain sense as well. Do you think that, in a way, the bike is a metaphor for happiness?
It's a perfect metaphor. Not only because it's easily achievable for everyone. You have very almost given bikes. You have very low budget bikes, and you have the top of the top models. So it can get to any kind of budget that you have available in terms of buying a bike and buying the happiness. But at the same time, I feel that when I'm cycling, I transform myself and for the good way, for the I'm in peace with everything. So
Hmm.
it's indeed an object that transports you to, to to the happiness.
Yeah. What's your personal connection with classic bikes and the community around it? Are you riding a classic bike yourself, or?
Yes, I'm now dealing with it. Before the movie, I was not in touch with this group or community, and after discovering it and after being inside their own event and their own gatherings, of course, I was very in love with all the friendship, all the simple way, the minimalism that they have. And now we are in the COVID, so there are not so many events. But as soon as they return,
Mhm.
yes, I want to share my good moments with them, and at the same time, even with my own family. We have a lot of plans to cycle around our country and outside. And yes, the film helped me as well to be more connected with with this context, and
Mhm.
mainly with. Of course, I see myself more as a classical cyclist than as a modern cyclist,
Mhm.
and it makes sense because what I saw in those people in that group is that I was not a cyclist before. I
Mhm.
ride as everyone. I like to bike, but I could not be considered a cyclist. Um, and but the values that they have about life are exactly the same as mine. When we talk about ecology, the minimalism, the friendship, and so on, and it's like as I found my own tribe.
Mhm.
And therefore, in order to make it an action, I want to join their events. I'm talking about their events because I'm not yet our event. It's not
Okay.
yet our event. I want to join this, and
Yeah.
I would love, for instance, to go to the next speed run in London. I would love it, and take my family now with me and bike in London with everyone. The same thing with France and other events that I want to discover because there are many around the world.
Brilliant. It was interesting because, take us a little bit more through the film, because like most of it was filmed in Portugal,
Mhm.
and there was two. So there was Pashley Cycles and Jeff Summerfield, who were in Stratford upon Avon and in London as well. How did you find those locations? What was the
Okay.
thinking behind it?
Right. Okay. Of course, as a Portuguese film and being based in Portugal,
Hmm.
I needed to show my own people, of course, and how this can develop more in Portugal. But I always knew that the big events where we can show. that there are a lot of people doing this,
Yeah.
not just hundreds, but thousands of people doing this. I just could achieve it in other European countries where there
Ah.
are more um, bigger events. So when I start designing and when I start doing the project of the documentary, um, immediately, even because my first idea, my first moment came from seeing an event in France, so it should always be intrinsic to go abroad to Portugal.
Mhm.
And then it was a kind of research. I also talked with the main character, Arthur. Arthur already visited some of these events, and I did a short list for those that will be fantastic to be included in the documentary. And then being in London, being in Tweedrun, for me, Tweedrun was indeed incredible. I discovered a manufacturer of classical bikes that still
Mhm.
does classical bikes like old times, and it was 2 hours away from London. And since nowadays a lot of bicycles are made in China, and even for European brands they are done outside.
Mhm.
Um, I thought it was interesting to visit a factory of classical bikes and see their philosophy as well. And it was a match. The people that I met there, the workers, the managers, they have again the same philosophy of life, of being simple, of being joyful. Of it that was something that was everyone that I touched, everything that I touched, it was always the same lifestyle as a common. So um, it was a very nice visit, and at the same time, I discovered Geoff Summerfield. That was a guy that has done 2 around the world bike tours in a penny farthing,
Mhm.
and what a fantastic person to try to contact, to try to reach and talk with him. And indeed, the messages that he gave in the documentary are fantastic about how we should see each other, how we should see each other around the world. So as in every project, there is a research, and in the research there are happy surprises, and it's all about phone them, reach them, contact them, and that's the way Geoff Summerfield and Pashley Factory appeared in the film and in context, of course.
Yeah. Sounds really interesting, and it pardon, leads to my other question as well. How did you find the other characters in the film? Because they've been obviously been very portrayed in a very intimate way, and how much time did you spend with people in order to make the film, to observe what they're doing and getting to know them better?
Okay. After I saw that trailer again, the starting point of everything, um, I reached the main character Arthur that I knew before. So he was a friend that I knew Arthur as a photographer, as doing a lot of work for private work for developing the people to cycle more and more in their everyday lives.
Mhm.
So I reached him. I proposed him about this idea that I wanted to do, and again, I always, since the first moment, I always wrote that this is not a documentary about bikes,
Yeah.
but about the people. So I wanted to uh, um, be far away from a TV journalistic job, but more for a cinematographic documentary. So I explained all this concept, and he got excited with it as well. And of course, he was my starting point for other people from this community in Portugal, because
Mhm.
he knew everyone in Portugal that was related with classical bikes. So that was one point. Then of course I reached everyone, and we talked about this, and it was important to see if some of those people were or not um, uh, with this mindset, as I
Mhm.
told you. Um, and it was as simple as that. We talk, we exchange ideas, but I was very clear it was very easy to see, okay, this guy or this girl as exactly what I thought about, or what I imagine that will be the mindset of a classical cycle. And it was touché with everyone.
Hmm.
Um, Not everyone that I met for the movie, but everyone in the community. That's what I felt always constant. The spirits were always very friendly. Um, and then, of course, other parts outside Portugal, even outside Lisbon, it was a discovery job. For instance, I remember I was doing the movie and I saw an article in the newspaper that a place in Portugal called Mortosa was elected the first bike-friendly town of Portugal. It is a very small town, but it was the first bike-friendly, where 15% of the people use a bike every day. And I was filming already the documentary. Say, wow, this is fantastic, because it's a good example of how you can live in your country. Like, you have Amsterdam, which is a great
Yeah.
example, but not in Portugal. It's not so usual to cycle as a commute, or to go to your job and so on. And as a matter of fact, the vice president was my friend. So it was very easy to call him and to ask him if there are people in his own community where you can refer, so that I can interview them. And it's all about researching, contacting, and then see with our own eyes that indeed they are great people to join the documentary.
Brilliant. That sounds, I mean, my experience very much, I spent a year cycling around the world on a bike, and I kind of like, yeah, that's what I experienced as well. It's just a wonderful community. One last question before we finish. Um, I was really intrigued by the comments I read on your Facebook page when the film was shown to children. And there's
Mhm.
also one scene in the film where the 87-year-old, I think was his age, bike mechanic talks about that today's youth doesn't appreciate bicycles anymore. And it was actually quite interesting to read those comments on the Facebook page. Do you think um, the joy of cycling and the appreciation for that can actually bridge the gap a little bit more, like to kind of really bring generations closer together, despite I think there's some technological differences between us, but do you think your film can achieve that?
Yes, I believe so. Even because a bicycle is again an object that makes everyone happy from 70 to 70. So there is a common pleasure for different ages. So it's easy to get there to get to the young people. And I believe that if you can give a different layer, that is, it can be trendy, it can be cool, you can be unique, you can
Mhm.
have your own uniqueness with a bike. You can transform it to be not a factory bike, but a bike exactly made or painted or recycled for you. And you know that young people are more and more reaching or discovering the uniqueness. I want to be unique. I want to be different. So I believe the movie can give these other, not only the good message of, again, ecology, because when you are cycling you are being ecological in your way of transporting, not only the friendship, everything, they understand it, but at the same time they can see that it's cool to be a classical
Yeah.
cyclist. And well, I want to do that. And this is something that I'm discovering with a lot of people, not only the young ones, but the old ones, everyone, that they are discovering with this movie, that community that they didn't know it existed. And they have will to buy a bicycle or to recycle a bicycle or whatever, to start biking. And that is something that is amazing me. I was not expecting so much adherence or so much initiative
Mhm.
after seeing the movie. Like, I want to bike tomorrow, even if I don't bike for 20 years. And that is fantastic.
That sounds great. um I think that's it.